Welcome to Elementary, Monday evenings at 6. Unfortunately, my guest is sick and cannot make today's Elementary. Nevertheless, the show must go on. And in saying that, I hope you're having a fabulous Monday. I hope you had a great day from wherever you're watching. So, my guest today was supposed to be Jess Luneville, but then she is sick and unfortunately is not able to join us. So today I am going to have the show go on no matter what. And in true real estate fashion, where we improvise and make things happen, we're going to make the show happen. So if you have questions and for me, then don't forget to drop them in the comment section or in the question icon below. And today we'll just talk real estate. So what is happening in the world of real estate and in the GTA market, and that's the market I'm from, Toronto and the surrounding, which is Greater Toronto area. In the GTA market, there are pockets. There are pockets of very different markets and from one to the other. So if someone's giving you a breakdown of a market, I would ask them to dig a little deeper and give you the breakdown of exactly where you're looking. Because the markets from one market to the next, it's quite a different market. And, some homes are staying a bit longer on the market and some are flying off the market, not as fast as they were, but they're still going places, right? The condo market, on the other hand, is a little stagnant and, there's lots to pick from if a condo is what you're looking for. But since my guest is sick today, we're going to reschedule for next Monday. So tune in next Monday if you're really interested in that topic. But I wanted to talk about, just getting you ready for purchasing a property. What are some things that, you need to be mindful of, right? So for me, I think it's a great market, but it really depends on your story. It's a great time to buy, provided it works out for you, right? Not everyone will be in that position, and not everyone will be. It won't be the right time for everyone. My goodness, I'm having difficulty speaking. It won't be the right time for everyone. However, there are deals to be had, and these are the times where you need to be coming into, the market, taking a look at what's available because it's not as rushed. Once the interest rate starts to drop again, guess what's going to happen? Everybody is going to be showing up to buy a house. And that demand hasn't gone away. The demand is still around. So what are some of the things you need to be mindful of? So if you're pre-buying a house, let's say you're a first-time home buyer and you're like trying to figure out, hey, what do I need to do to get myself ready? And typically we would say get your mortgage in order. And that's the most important step, whether you're a first-time home buyer or a seasoned home buyer, finding out what you would qualify, the rate, and how far it goes. Now, it's more like the rule of 4, where each 100K in annual wages gives you about maybe 400, between 4 and 450 of mortgage, but mostly because of the rates, probably more like 400. So, if you're looking to buy something under $1 million, you're going to need a couple of $100,000 worth of mortgage. So you and your spouse, how much do you make together? But I find that this is where people actually fall short of it, where they don't realize what 100,000 buys you in, what 100,000 not buys you, but what 100,000 in income will allow you to buy. And so that amount of that income is obviously, that amount is dependent on what rate you're going to get, how much you're qualifying at. There's a stress test. And you also have to have your credit, everything has to line up in order for you to get a rate from the bank, right? Or a lender, should I call it a lender? So getting your mortgage is the most important part, right? Because you have to be prepared with your numbers. You should know exactly what you can afford, and it allows you to not be disappointed. So, if you're looking at properties that are above $1 million, but you qualify for under $1 million, then you'll be disappointed because it's a big difference. Or if you're looking at something, closer to $1 million, but you qualify for 6 or 750, you'll be disappointed, right? So look for something within your price range. And the best way to do that is to get your mortgage in order. Now, if you are a first-time home buyer just getting started, obviously getting your credit, making sure your credit is good, preparing all the documents that you're going to need, working on your deposits and your down payments, making sure you know exactly how much you have in your RSP account if you plan to use that, the whole 9 yards, right? So, and if you're not a first-time home buyer and you're just looking to get started, then you may have to sell a property and you may have to buy. And so that's a little bit of a different market right now. So my advice would be to sell before you buy, so that you know exactly how much you can afford. And the market is taking a little longer. Like homes are taking a little longer to move these days, unlike before. So one of the things I normally have people tell me is they'd like to buy in the Toronto area. And Toronto's great. It's great for if you're, you need to commute, you're working in the city, you want to be close by. And one of the things I tell people is, while the taxes in Toronto are pretty cheap and people kind of get a little shocked because they think taxes are high in Toronto. Well, Toronto taxes are pretty low compared to some other areas. And so then what happens is, but you do have to pay the double land transfer tax, and you have to have that money, and it's quite a fair bit. So whatever you're paying for land transfer tax in Richmond Hill, Vaughan, double that for Toronto. That's the double land transfer tax. But one of the things I tell people is when they're looking to live a little further out of the city, I let them know that, it's always great if they want to live a little bit further out of the city, but they need to be prepared for the commute. And do the commute not on a weekend. Do the commute in rush hour. Do the commute in rush hour, like when you're going to work, when you're coming back. And that's exactly, because if you just do it one time, you're like, oh, I can do this. And I tell my clients all the time, listen, you're going to buy a home with me, just do the commute, because, I don't want a month after you've moved into your house, you're calling me and saying, oh my God, I can't handle this. I can't handle this commute, and I have to do it all the time. Now, you might be one of those lucky ones working from home, and this may not affect you as much. Another piece of advice that I give my clients are check out the neighborhood. If you're not familiar with the area, then you need to check out the neighborhood. Do a drive-by. Check out the neighborhood at different times of the day. In the evening, and you'll just get a feel for if that neighborhood is going to work for you, if that area is going to work for you. But the most important thing is, what I say to people is, you can pick your neighbors, and you want to make sure that wherever you decide to live, your neighbors, I don't hang out with my neighbors, but I do want to make sure my neighbors are great people, and that I can actually, that I'll enjoy just living there, right? They're not looking for trouble, and, they're not making my life difficult, and so on. So those are some of the things that I would ask people to be mindful of. And then comes into perspective of what's nearby. So do they have grocery stores nearby, or do you have to drive to get a bag of milk? And I'll give you an example. I was checking out this one neighborhood for myself, and it was great. The house was nice. I just couldn't get over the fact that, even if I fell short of an onion or a bag of milk or whatever little, there was no store close enough that I could just pop in and pick up something on the fly, and that I would have to drive, 20 minutes to a grocery store. And so for some people, that's okay. That would work for them. But for me, it's like a little something to pay attention to, right? So do they have grocery stores nearby, a doctor's office, all of those things? And is it close to an airport or to a trail, like a train's track? So some people say, they'll pick the trains over the planes. I say, pick your poison and just figure out what their schedule is. I remember having this townhouse right in a flight path, and I thought it was quite annoying, really, because the flights go by like every few seconds, and if you're in a flight path, they fly a little lower than most other places, right? And it's pretty loud. And if you're hanging out, it's not loud in your house, but if you're entertaining in the backyard and you have a plane go by every few minutes or every couple of minutes, it's a lot. So some people say that about trains, some people say that about planes. Either way, pick your poison, right? Hey, like I said, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. My guest was sick today, and so I'm kind of improvising as we go along. I wanted to make sure we had a topic of interest for people. So if you have questions, drop them below. If you have, a topic you'd like me to look into a bit further and unpack for you, I'm happy to do that as well on one of our next episodes. So what are some other costs that you have to be mindful of if you were purchasing a home? And, there'd be moving cost and being prepared with moving costs. And, when I say home, not all homes are equal. So when I say home, if you were buying a resale property, the costs are a little different than if you were buying a brand new property. And those are things to be mindful of. Recently I've been finding people, I think this was like a little thing while that everyone was going out and purchasing brand new condo units, and somehow someone had convinced all of these people to pay a higher price and buy a brand new condo unit because it was going to be a great investment. And so, I'm not talking you out of buying a brand new condo unit. All I'm saying to you is they're always more expensive than a resale. They're always more expensive, and you're buying into what may happen 5 years from now. They're projecting the prices and the price increases per year. And you're hoping that 3 to 5 years later, when they have built that condo, you're going to make some good money, right? But you can also stand to lose a lot. So be prepared, because they're already selling you that condo unit at a higher rate. And I don't care what they tell you. I know they do this big hype and this big show, and everyone gets carried away and gives people their hard-earned money. Also be prepared that not all of that money is, and I'm not talking condo, I'm just talking in general, brand new. Not all of that money is insured, right? Only portions of it are insured under Tarion. So, what else do you need to be prepared? That, like I mentioned, there's closing costs, which include like the legal fees and that aspect to it. There's land transfer taxes that you need to be prepared for. There's mortgage insurance, life insurance, moving costs, home inspections. It's a big ticket item. I know a lot of people like to skip the home inspections. I would say a home inspection, a good home inspector is great. They point out little things that you can, not deal breakers, but little things that you can actually be mindful about. So home inspections, all of these little things will add up over time. But if you're buying a brand new property, the costs are a little different, as I mentioned. There are developmental fees, which include like the gas hookups and all of that. So you need to read through the contract really well. You need to have a lawyer go through. And if you're buying a brand new property, if you're buying a condo, you have a 7-day cooling off period. The cooling off period starts the minute you sign the document. But if you're purchasing a home, a freehold house, there's no cooling off period. The moment you sign, that's it. So just be prepared. No one's telling you not to buy it. Just be prepared that you understand what you're going through. And it's always great to get legal advice. If you have a lawyer, make sure your lawyer is well versed in new condo sales or new home sales. Because there's lots of reading, and there's lots of clauses, and the builders don't write the clause for your benefit. Let me tell you, they are written in the builder's sole interest, right? So, and more importantly is when you go to these sales centers, you're working with the salespeople that the builder has representing them, not representing you. So that's even more important that you understand, because a lot of times I see people in a little bit of a stew because they don't understand some of the basic elements. Now, someone's always excited about an assignment clause, and so sometimes builders will say the assignment clauses are capped at so much. Sometimes they'll say free assignment clause, but nothing's free. There's always like admin fees or some legal fee attached to it, or some sort of fee attached to it. Even if it's small, it's attached. And with assignments, even though you get an assignment clause, what people fail to understand is you have to get permission from the builder to list that property. So if you decide you want to list your property, you actually have to get permission from the builder. I actually have a person who had come to me to sell a property, and the builder actually said no to listing. The property is almost ready, but the builder's saying no. And that's because they probably have a lot of inventory that is still available, and they haven't exhausted the inventory yet. So they will tell you no because then if they say yes to you, then they find themselves competing with you. Because why would people buy from them if they can buy from you, right? So that's something for you to be mindful about. Like I said, I like to advise people on all of these things. They are not matters that you need to be worried about. They're not items that you have to say, oh my God, I'm like so afraid. But you have to be knowledgeable about it so that if something were to happen, you have a plan B in place for it. Anyhow, I don't see any questions, and I'm going to sign off. And until next week, I hope my guest is available next week. And I hope very much you'll join me next week for another show. But for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jacqueline Watson. I'm a realtor with Sutton Group in Toronto. And I want to thank you for your time. If you feel like you want to be on the show, DM me. If you feel like you want me to unpack a topic and find a guest for you in connection to that topic, I'm happy to do that as well. So get in touch. And until next time, have a great evening, and thank you once again for your time. Bye.